They called it a death world, a place where gravity crushed metal, storms tore continents apart, and even plants hunted like predators. No species had ever survived there for long, until humanity arrived. They weren't sent as conquerors. They were sent as exiles, disposable. But the galaxy's mistake was assuming humans would break. Instead, they adapted. They thrived. And when the galaxy returned centuries later, expecting bones and silence, what they found wasn't extinction. It was evolution. And now, the galaxy finally understands why death worlds should fear their children. If that opening gave you chills, stick around. This isn't just another HFY story. It's the legend of how a species turned hell itself into home. So, if you love tales of grit, survival, and humanity's impossible rise, hit like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who loves sci-fi that actually feels alive. All right, let's dive in. Humanity's greatest myth begins here. They called them criminals, though most were just inconvenient. Soldiers who questioned orders, scientists who asked the wrong questions, colonists who refused to kneel. The Galactic Council gathered them in silence, branded them as liabilities, and loaded them onto cold transport ships bound for the uncharted world codenamed Erebus 9. To the Council, it was poetic justice. Let the savages meet their match, one delegate sneered. The planet was a monster, a death world so hostile that even drones melted in its acidic rain. Gravity 3 times standard. Temperatures that boiled oceans and froze skies. No species had lasted more than a week there. Humanity, they thought, would vanish in a month. But when the ships landed, something strange happened. The humans looked out across the crimson storms and the lightning-torn mountains, and they smiled. Not in madness, but recognition. They'd seen this before. Not the landscape, but the feeling. The fight for survival. The challenge. And somewhere deep in that poisoned wind, Erebus 9 roared like a beast welcoming prey. Humanity roared back. Because when the galaxy tried to bury them, they forgot humans don't stay buried. Erebus 9 didn't wait to greet its new guests. It attacked. The air itself was poison. Winds howled at hundreds of kilometers per hour. Trees, if you could call those metallic, spiked things trees, snapped apart and flew like spears. One storm swallowed an entire human outpost in the first night. But humanity didn't panic. They adapted. They sealed suits tighter, reinforced shelters with ship hulls, and learned how to read the planet's mood. Within weeks, they'd built crude weather sensors from melted drone parts. Within months, they'd learned how to eat what Erebus called food. It was bitter, venomous, and alive, but humans learned to cook it into sustenance. Predators came next. Massive creatures with bioluminescent hides and bones that glowed under lightning. The first attacks were massacres, the second were victories. Because every time something killed a human, the survivors studied why. And each lesson became a weapon. Erebus 9 wanted them dead. It threw fire, wind, and teeth at them. But humans answered with steel, strategy, and the quiet stubbornness of a species that refuses to bow. They weren't surviving anymore. They were learning to belong. Years passed. Generations shifted. What began as survival turned into evolution. The children born on Erebus 9 were nothing like their ancestors. Their bones were denser, muscles thicker, eyes adapted to see through storms and darkness. They called themselves the Forged, not humans of Earth, but humans of fire and pressure, molded by a world that had tried to erase them. Technology changed too. Where old alloys melted, they grew new composites from native metals. Where machines failed, they built hybrids, living tech grown from the planet's own biology. They didn't conquer Erebus. They merged with it, and the planet noticed. Its storms shifted around their cities like a silent respect. Predators stopped attacking and began circling settlements as if recognizing something kindred. a new apex life form that didn't just survive here, but belonged. Some said Erebus had accepted them. Others whispered something stranger, that the planet itself was learning from them, adapting in return. But one thing was certain: humanity wasn't the same. The galaxy had sent them here to die. Instead, they'd evolved into something it could never predict, and perhaps could never control again. Centuries later, the galaxy remembered what it had forgotten. Long-range scans picked up impossible readings, vast energy signatures pulsing from the once-dead world. Erebus 9, the graveyard of humanity, was alive. Curious and cautious, the Galactic Council sent an expedition fleet. When their ships broke through the storm layer, they expected ruins. Instead, they found cities carved into mountains of iron, towers glowing with bioluminescent light, and skies alive with metallic wings. The air shimmered with fields of magnetic energy that bent lightning into ribbons. But what chilled them most were the beings who greeted them. They looked human, almost. Taller, stronger, eyes faintly luminous, movements too precise, too deliberate. They carried no weapons, but their very presence radiated quiet dominance, like predators who no longer needed to hunt to prove power. The captain of the alien fleet whispered, Are these the exiles?" A voice answered from the storm, transmitted across every channel. Calm, deep, human. "We were once, but your death world made us more." Every ship's crew felt it then. Not fear of destruction, but the fear of irrelevance. Humanity hadn't perished on Erebus 9. It had ascended. The message spread faster than any fleet could travel. Humanity lives, but not as the galaxy remembered them. Not fragile, flesh-bound creatures of oxygen and frailty, but as something else. Something reborn. When the Galactic Council tried to contact them again, the Forged responded with silence. Not arrogance, patience. Observation. They watched as old empires bickered and postured, as warships gathered near Erebus 9's borders, trembling behind the mask of diplomacy. And then the Forged spoke once more. "Do not fear what we've become. Fear what you made possible." Because humanity didn't build weapons, they became them. Their cities were living machines, their bodies attuned to the planet's pulse. They could shape storms, harness tectonic fire, even speak through the magnetic fields of space itself. When one empire launched a probe toward their skies, it disintegrated before entry, not by attack, but by the planet's will. Erebus 9 had joined humanity. Together they were a symbiosis of defiance. And across the stars, every species finally understood. You can exile a human. You can curse them. You can even try to bury them on a death world. But you will never break them.